To start, you've got a new project out now. Can you tell us about the legend of Jack and Diane and the inspiration behind this film?
Let's see. I wrote a book first,
Yeah,
called Legend of Jack and Diane, which I never released. And I was always I like revenge, female revenge thrillers. They're some of my favorite films. It's kind of there. It's a really an underdog story. But I used to be addicted to watching like crime shows, like Nancy Grace and things like that. And I wanted to write something about a woman who kind of took control and took the law into her own hands. And I always thought it would be cool to finish the story of Jack and Diane. Who are these people after
yeah.
after they went to high school and what they do? So I kind of took liberties with whatever that might be, and came up with the. I wrote the screenplay with my girlfriend, and it was a fun experience. I mean the book and the screenplay, and it went through a lot of changes because it
Yeah.
started out as a Sonic television show that I was pitching over the pandemic. Well, actually, before the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, everything just sort of changed. And the original show was this couple moving out to Hollywood, become like actors, and they dealt with the casting couch. The girl had gotten raped, and they
Mm.
decided to rid Hollywood of all the sexual predators. And it was kind of like a lot of the executives weren't really ready to tell that story. So we kind of toned it down and decided to make them film ourselves. So that's kind of how it progressed, evolved.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect segue to this next question. But like you're just saying, the scripts made quite the journey from originating as a book to a television series and now a film. What has it meant for you to have it finally come out on a big screen? And what did you have to account for as you adapted it for the film medium?
Well, I mean, it's great to see anytime you can see your words, be recited by actors and see it on the
Mm.
screen. It's kind of a high. I mean, I got that high a long time ago when I started writing for TV shows. And the thing is, when you're writing for a TV show, things get altered and changed by 10 other
Yeah.
people. Same thing when you're doing studio pictures. Like I have sold and optioned several scripts over the years. And anytime I went to a studio, it was like I had a difficult time. I had a very famous director named Noel Black who did every popular show in the 70s and 80s. Quincy, Three's Company, Happy Days, he directed all of them. And he told me, he goes, listen, just let them do what they do, get your movies made, and like kind of be happy. Like, when you're unless you're an established screenwriter with lots of box office money under your belt, the people in the studio, when they option your script or buy it, they don't really listen to what you want to do.
Mm.
So being able to do independent films is something that I really, really enjoy because I get to tell everything's mine. It's my story. I even edit these darn things. So, you really get to pick what you want people to see. Jack and Diane was it's an entertaining piece.
Yeah.
I always tell people it's not like I have a lot of different stuff. This was not like my passion project from my heart. I think it's an entertaining piece. I love the story. I have a lot of stuff I've done. I just wrapped another movie called Love Kills.
Mhm.
That's a dark comedy in the Hitchcock genre. And it was kind of based on the movie The Rope, which I think people are going to enjoy. But in June, I'm directing a movie called One, which is a racially involved boxing film that is kind of a
Mm.
passion project of mine, where people can really see a lot of drama and a lot of heart. I think that's the one that's going to be a breakthrough for us. But Jack and Diane went through a lot of changes to get to the screen. But seeing it up there and having Tom Sizemore in it
Yeah.
was fantastic. He's been one of my favorites my entire life. So having him in the movie was fantastic.
Wrote this script with your girlfriend and you've worked with some of the cast in the past. As you were creating these characters, did you have these particular actors in mind? How did knowing what they were capable of help elevate the material? And did you write it with the intention for Lydia to star in it?
I did write it. Yeah, I did write it with the intention of Lydia to star in it. And some of the characters, like Carlo Mendez, I brought back for
Yeah.
Love Kills because he has such a funny side that some people don't even. I don't think we really got to see it in Jack and Diane. In this next movie, he's really, really funny, and I think it's easier actually if you can put a wish list in your head. I mean, to me, it's definitely a lot easier. If I'm writing for a specific character, it's because I already know a lot of their traits.
Yeah.
So anytime also, even to help the actor, if you can write a character that has some of their personal traits, it brings the character closer to them, and it makes it easier for them to tell the story and portray the character. So I think it's definitely easier. Anytime you have someone ahead of time, it's fantastic. I didn't have Tom ahead of time, but he, I mean, he's such a versatile actor. It could have been, a good cop, a bad cop, a mob guy. I mean, anything he plays, he makes real. So it was fantastic having him.
To writing and directing, you've also acted in the past. How helpful have those experiences been as you've collaborated with this cast? Is there a different shorthand that you developed since you have experience in front of the camera as well?
I think I know back in the day when I was in Hollywood in like the early 90s, late 80s, and I was taking every acting class there was under the sun. I wasn't crazy about acting classes quite that much because a lot of people, I've seen some really good actors get nitpicked by these teachers who aren't really great actors themselves. And next thing you know, they're like frozen. They don't know what to do. They overthink everything. So I do think having time in front of the camera absolutely helps. And I have some personal techniques also through sports, through being a professional fighter and training. And I had some great trainers in my life and some great teachers. So I think that helps. It helps a lot when I'm talking to actors and trying to get them to relate to what we want to get on screen and what the character is dealing with. And it's a real mental game. I mean, it really is. And being able to share that experience with the actors and be able to have them, kind of push through their boundaries. Even seeing my girlfriend grow,
Yeah.
she's night and day. That was her first film, and she was in it with a guy, Tom Sizemore, who's done legendary stuff. So for her, and she's only 22 years old at the time, was kind of overwhelming, but she never showed it. I mean, she was calm, cool, and collected the entire time on set and everything else. It kind of blew me away. And her acting in the second film is, we just wrapped a movie called she's in also called Love Kills,
Yeah.
which is it's even better. So I think actors just improve every time.
And, speaking of first, this is also the first feature that you've directed. Did anything surprise you about the experience? What did you learn on this project that you've now been able to bring over to Love Kills?
I've actually directed a bunch of short films in the past. But quite honestly, there isn't a lot different other than the magnitude and the scope. I mean, Jack and Diane was a decent sized budget. So you're just in control of more, people, have more responsibility, but same principle. I mean, I like, there are also, by the way, there are certain directors who are very technical, who know every single thing about cameras, who, I'm actually still, I try to pick up as much knowledge as I can all the time. I'm literally studying this stuff for years, 24/7. I mean, I was just on the internet looking at different specs on new cameras and trying to pick things up. But working with the actors is my favorite thing. And to be honest, I could have directed 10 years ago. I finally got to the point where I wanted to stop writing scripts and trying to sell them. And then you get an option, you get a nice check-in, you get excited. Then you go through the process, like I explained before, changing half your story, which always frustrated me because I never gotten the chance to see one of my stories on screen. Like, would people like it? Would they not like it? Would they hate it? You don't get a chance. So doing an independent film like this and being able to do it yourself, you get a real sense of having your finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
You get to either be successful or fail on your own, which I kind of like. So, rather than depending on, attaching your name to something that someone changed and it isn't your story anymore. Hope that answered your question.
No, it definitely did. This is such a wild ride that I think audiences are really going to enjoy. Was there a scene in particular that you're really excited for them to see?
The one where Tom Sizemore shoots me in the trailer, I thought would be fun. Because when we were setting that up, Carlo Mendez is supposed to throw a kilo of cocaine at me, and they ended up having like powder and all kinds of stuff from every angle. And when everyone threw it at me, I mean, it went up my nose and my mouth. It was hard to breathe. But being shot by Tom was the highlight of that movie for me. There's some other cool scenes, but I like that one.
There's so many themes that you're able to tackle in this gritty revenge thriller. Was there one in particular that hit home for you? What do you hope audiences take away after they get to see this?
Honestly, I think this movie is just Like, forget about what you're doing for an hour and 20 minutes.
Mm,
Sit down and enjoy one of Tom's last films.
yeah.
And there's some good scenes. There's some good fun in it. It's I mean, even there's a lot of comedy in it too, which people don't realize. Like, somebody, I don't want to
Yeah.
give any of the ending away. There are some things that, like, Tom does even in the end of the film, where there some of the takes I used were more of his, like, comedic lines, which
Mm.
I just thought were funny. There's some sarcasm. It's just a fun little movie.
And you just recently wrapped on Love Kills. Is there anything that you could talk about regarding that project?
Yeah, Love Kills is a dark comedy. Again, it's kind of based on The Rope, where this couple who have about 20 years between them decide, the girl's a little insecure, and she decides that to bind their love together, they should kill someone at a house party they're having. So the story takes place over the character who steals the entire movie, who has MS, but it's not
Mm.
multiple sclerosis. It's called McConaughey syndrome, and he thinks he's Matthew McConaughey. And he wears a Matthew McConaughey T-shirt. He looks like him, talks like him, and they have a plot to several people are plotting against each other. And it is, I honestly very rarely, even when something's funny that I do, I usually won't laugh at it. I have been editing this thing and just rewinding scenes and cracking up. When I was directing this thing, I had to bite my shirt. It is so ridiculously funny. People are going to really like this one. I'm very excited to get this one out.
I can't wait. I got one final question for you. You're such an exciting voice in this industry. As you look ahead, what's left on your bucket list to tell in regards to stories?
Oh, there's I couldn't live long enough to tell them all. I mean, that's really the I wish I had decided to go this route 20 years ago.
Mm,
That's probably, I mean, I don't know. I guess the question wasn't about regrets, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I wish I would have done this 20 years ago when I was 34 instead of 54, and didn't waste so much time not really pursuing. I was pursuing what I wanted, but I wasn't putting 100% into it, and didn't realize how satisfying it would be to get to this point where I'm able
yeah,
to write and tell these stories. And even if they're even independently, the landscape has changed so much. I'm not
definitely.
sure that doing a huge studio picture, other than having more money to do more shots, is much different, because they're all going to Amazon Prime and all the streaming services
Mhm.
anyway. So, it's a different day and age, but yeah, I love what I'm doing. It's fun, and hopefully I tell some stories that people really like.